The St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update, where we connect you to the parish community as you experience the presence of Christ.
Hey, what's up, and welcome to the St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update, week of June the 16th. I'm Brandon Barker, and I'm joined with Leilani Freitas, Evan Swindle, and Isabel Keith. And guys, it is Father's Day today.
Yeah, happy
Yes.
Father's Day.
Happy Father's
Evan,
Day,
happy
guys.
Father's Day to you.
Happy Father's Day to you and all of them out there.
And all of the dads out there. It's Sunday, so it's a solemnity, and it's a mini Easter, and so it's something that we celebrate each week, but it also happens to be Father's Day. And last time when we had Mother's Day, we had a little fun fact about Mother's Day and kind of how it started, but thought it would be good on Father's Day to share a couple things about Father's Day. Side note, there's a book that I'd read several years ago that Dr. Scott Hahn put out on the Our Father.
Okay.
Just, like the Our Father, the prayer, and just the perfection of it. And ultimately, because all fatherhood here on earth is ultimately participating in the ultimate fatherhood of God the Father. And ultimately why too, like there was another book that I'd read called Becoming a King that it was ultimately talking about like why every single human being has daddy issues. Ultimately it's because we were all built with this desire for a perfect father, right? And so God made us with that desire. And so that's what we all desire. But like so many of us, we're seeking it in earthly, and so no matter what sort of earthly father we have or father figures or whatever in our life, like none of them are perfect. And it's the moment we find that out, no matter even if our earthly fathers are the best in the whole world, they're still not perfect. And there's a moment that we all realize that.
Yeah.
And it, like something in us, it absolutely crushes. And then we spend the rest of our life seeking it in other people or other things, trying to distract us from the fact that thing that is knit very deeply in us isn't there, because we all have the same perfect father. So like the perfect father that my dad and my granddad were looking for, and my great granddad and my grandfather, and that I looked for, and my dad and my kids look for me. I've had to tell my kids like, hey, like the same perfect father that you guys desire, man, like we all have it, And so that's what we do have. And so the good news is that very thing in us that sometimes causes us to like struggle in life with things, it's ultimately like all of our answers the same. And it just manifests itself, in a ton of different ways. So without doing like a complete deep dive, that was something that, connected for me many, many years later. And I was like, oh my goodness. So then I could just let my imperfect dad be
who he
an
is,
imperfect dad. And because I didn't need that from him anymore, like I didn't. And then for other people that are father figures in my life that I'd put that on, and at some point realized that it wasn't. And so like once that was able to put and just let God be the perfect father, and then let them be imperfect ones, well, then it it really did. It transformed my relationship and just my view, and just, thanksgiving for God being that perfection with which I desire, and which every human being that's ever existed on the face of the earth, like ultimately desires too.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's the things that the father figures or our fathers in our lives that have shown us that reflect God. We give thanks for that. We give thanks for that. Why? Because it's ultimately pointing us, and we're experiencing that in God. But then also, like, we're able to be thankful for the things that our earthly fathers or earthly father figures have done that are not, that they're imperfect and they're not in line with God, because it makes us desire. It makes us desire that which is. And so it's one of those, our experiences, and God ultimately drawing everything for good. He's ultimately drawing us to him all day, every day, through the perfection and imperfection that we experience through people. So anyway,
Thanks for unpacking.
Yeah,
that.
and I also think like it's good for us as dads to know that we don't have to be perfect because we have the perfect father. And so not to carry that pressure on us as well too. Like, yes, there's a job that we have to get done to raise our kids, to provide for our family, and ultimately get them all to heaven. But we need the support of the perfect father. So
And I think-
and point our kids to him.
I mean, obviously as a father, your kids and your wife look up to you, but I mean, as individuals, like every single person strives to be perfect, but none of us can be, no matter how hard we try. So I think that no matter if you're like a father listening or like a mother or a daughter or anything, like this applies to you too.
It really does. I mean, a lot of relationships they're positively or negatively affected by the filter with which we take into it, you know? And so these desires that we have are good. But at the point in time, like you said, Evan, that's when we realize that we don't have perfect fathers. Well, then we think that we need to become that. And then there's at some point in time we realize, we can't. And then, so that's where a lot of times people just have to distract themselves from sitting in that reality, because then it's hopeless to a certain degree until we realize that, we're all searching for the same thing and the answer's in the same place. And it's ultimately, in God the Father. And then we can start setting up our relationships and helping other people do the same, so that my kids aren't looking for me to fill that hole that only God can fill, that God-shaped hole, And so anyway, man,
That was good.
This was good, guys.
Talk about that with you guys for a really long time. Thanks for
You hit on that really well.
letting me share that on Father's Day.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's hit this week though.
On a lighter note, Evan, you got like a dad joke or something to kind of...
I have one, especially as we break open the week. But
Do you really?
Yeah, it's
Oh gosh.
what are the strongest days of the week?
What are the strongest
days?
days of the week?
I don't know.
The days that you work out? No, I'm just kidding. Saturday and Sunday, because the other ones are weekdays.
Weekdays.
You get it?
Yeah.
Good job.
That was good.
I mean,
That
for
was
us
really
Catholics, it's also because we have Mass on that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus
But
Christ.
the rest of the days are weekdays.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Wow,
a good dad
Evan.
joke.
Yeah.
That was superb. Thank you.
I try.
for that.
Well,
Okay.
on those weekdays, what are happening? Let's start with the weekdays and we'll end with the strong ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we got on Monday?
What do we have on Monday?
Oh man, Monday's me. It's the man. I think it's the Solemnity of the Immaculate Heart of Mary.
It is.
It
Yeah.
is.
It
It's the
is.
Solemnity of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. What I don't know is typically it's because the Sacred Heart of Jesus was last week, and a lot of times they're back to back. I hadn't done a deep dive or look at that, and I've only been Catholic again for 15 years, so I don't know
You're a knowledgeable Catholic.
all
though.
the things.
Yeah.
But yeah, normally it's like the Feast of the Sacred Heart is like on the Friday, and the Solemnity is on Saturday. But sometimes other things are happening, and then things get moved. So I don't know, but nonetheless, Monday.
And then Tuesday after Monday.
Yeah, Tuesday, you can celebrate the sacrament. So we'll have confession and mass at the normal times. And then the Our Lady of Altar Society, they're having their monthly meeting in the morning at 11:30. And then in the evening of Tuesday, the Legion of Mary is meeting, and they pray the rosary. They offer up intentions, which is super beautiful. So they meet from 6:15 to 7:30. And then what's happening on Wednesday, Isabel?
Yeah. So Wednesday we'll have our regular 12 o'clock mass. So come by at noon and come to mass with us. And then on Thursday, we will have the men's prayer group. They meet in the mornings at 6:30 a.m. bright and early in the St. Marin room, and they would love for you to join them. So definitely join them. And then we'll have mass at 8 a.m. and then confessions from 5 to 6 p.m.
Awesome. So I get the strong days. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Friday, the 21st, we have our normal Mass at 8 a.m. But then, again, with those strong days, because you get to go to Mass, we have the normal Masses on Saturday evening and Sunday, and then the Saturday confessions as well, too. So,
Awesome.
and speaking of fathers, it's not only for fathers, but we do have a ministry here at St. Thomas called Most Men of St. Thomas. They meet weekly, even over the summer as well, and we just wanted to talk about them a little bit. They meet early in the morning in the St. Mary room as well too, I believe on Tuesdays. And we know that they are or have been working through the myths of the Catholic Church. This program that Word on Fire has put out, and there's 7 top myths of the Catholic Church. So they're not just meeting to meet. They meet as men and going over these. So as we were talking about, we will have a foundation and learn more about our church. So ultimately, we'll be led to God. So
That's a cool
that's
topic to
awesome.
go over
Yeah.
too.
You know, it is, because I mean, it's like the more that we understand about our faith, right? The more we understand about the church is ultimately the more we get to know Christ, right? I mean, it's his body, the church, and the more we know about Christ, well, then the more we know about the Father. And so it's one of those, like, that's how that relationship that you were just talking about earlier. I mean, how do we grow in that? Well, ultimately through Christ, and he's revealed the Father to us through, I mean, his church and through the sacramental life. And so it's like that thing that we're all born with. The more we spend time growing in our faith and learning about things that maybe aren't true that people think are, well, then, like, again, it's all driven by love. And when we love God, well, just like with anybody else, like, you want to get to know more about someone, and the more you do, well, then it provides the very thing that we desire, because that's what God does.
Yep.
He solves problems,
Yeah,
the
he's
ones
good.
that we have.
He's a good father.
Wow, Evan, you should go to singing.
Amen to that.
Okay. Any comments? Any questions? Any other thing? I mean, I
No.
like hog the mic. I mean, I do
No,
that
I
every
loved
week,
it. It was
That was
great
awesome.
hearing you share more.
No. No, I think we're ready to wrap up.
We're
Okay.
set.
Well, with that being said, remember St. Thomas Aquinas family, that responding to God's grace, like, he will make saints out of us one day, one step at a time. And he's using us to be his light. And that's what he's doing. So let's just be open to what God's wanting to do in our lives. And remember that our promise here at St. Thomas Aquinas is that we are walking with every person that we encounter to experience the presence of Christ. You'll have a great week. Keep us in your prayers. Know that you're in ours. And again, for the week of June the 16th, this is the St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update. I'm Brandon Barker, Leilani Freitas, Evan Swindle, and Isabel Keith. Until next week, Godspeed.
You've been listening to the St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram at STA Dallas, and visit the website at www.stadallas.org.